I still can't believe you're doing this, I said, looking across the polished mahogany table at my sister Victoria, from where she sat in our father's office. The late afternoon sunlight stretched long shadows across the floor-to-ceiling windows of Taurus Technologies' executive floor, but the dark tension between us had been growing for years. I'm Elena Taurus, 32, and for the last decade, I believed I was building this company alongside our father. That was until today, when my younger sister quietly orchestrated a corporate coup. "Oh, Elena," Victoria said, nonchalantly inspecting her perfectly manicured nails. "You're always so dramatic." The board made their decision. They think you're too aggressive, too ambitious. They need someone with stable leadership. I fought to keep my jaw from tightening. Stable leadership? Is that what you call meeting with the board behind my back for months and spreading rumors about my risky expansion plans? Her smile was as cold as the marble floors beneath my feet. At 29, Victoria had always been the diplomatic one. While I spent sleepless nights developing new products, she hosted dinner parties and golf outings with board members' families. I should have seen it coming. The numbers don't lie, Elena. Your strategy was reckless. It could have bankrupted us. Someone had to step in. She stood, smoothing down her designer suit. Besides, Daddy always said you were too much like Mom. Always pushing, never satisfied. Look where that got her. The mention of Mom made my chest tighten. She had died when I was 12, but not before instilling in me a passion for innovation. Victoria, too young to remember her vision, absorbed her father's conservative business mindset. "That's low even for you," I replied quietly. "Mom built this company from the ground up. Her pushing is why we're even here." Victoria waved it off dismissively. "Ancient history. The board agrees with me. Taurus Technologies needs stability, not your risky ventures. You can stay head of R&D, of course, under my supervision." I grabbed my things, my voice steady. "Congratulations, Victoria. You got what you wanted. Don't be bitter, Elena. It's not a good look." She paused, then added with a mocking sweetness, "Though I suppose that's never been your strong suit." I left without saying another word, my heels echoing against the marble floors that had once been a playground for the two of us, racing through these halls as kids, playing hide and seek while our parents worked late. Now every step felt like a reminder of everything we'd lost. In my office, my assistant, Marcus, stood waiting. His usual cheerful expression was now lined with concern. "I heard. Are you okay?" I closed the door behind us, my voice low. "Did you get everything?" He pulled out a USB drive, nodding. "All the documents you asked for. Board minutes, emails, financial reports. It's all here. And they don't suspect a thing. No, everyone thinks I'm just the tech challenge assistant. Underestimated people have advantages." I plugged the drive into my computer, scrolling through the files. 18 months of meticulous documentation, capturing every move Victoria had made to undermine me. Each casual lunch, every manipulated financial report, the quiet whispers she spread about my leadership. "How's Project Phoenix?" I asked, my focus still on the screen. "Ready. The patents are under your personal holding company like we discussed. The prototype's set, and the investors are completely separate from Taurus Tech's usual circles." I let out a breath, feeling a flicker of satisfaction. Over the past year, I've been developing a groundbreaking new security protocol. One that could revolutionize the entire industry, but instead of doing it through Taurus Technologies, I worked on it independently with a small, trusted team. "Good," I said, closing my laptop. "Victoria thinks she's won because she has the board in her pocket. She doesn't know that while she was playing office politics, I was building something much bigger." Marcus gave a knowing smile. "She has no idea, does she?" "Nope," I replied, allowing myself a quiet smile. "Victoria's always been more concerned with the family name and the position. She never understood that real power comes from creating something valuable, not just managing what's already there." Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from our father. "Need to see you both. Dinner tonight at the house." I showed the message to Marcus, who winced. This is going to be awkward. Exactly what Victoria wants, an opportunity to play the dutiful daughter while making me look like the bitter, ambitious one. But let her think she's won. I grabbed my things, including the USB. The best revenge isn't just success. It's the kind of success they never saw coming. The drive home gave me time to reflect. Victoria's corporate move hadn't shocked me. I'd seen it coming for months. But how easily she'd manipulated our father was what stung. Robert Torres had always been protective of her, especially after Mom died, but I never thought he'd condone this level of deceit. I pulled into the family estate. The familiar security guard, who had watched us grow from girls to businesswomen, gave me a sympathetic nod as I passed through the gates. Inside, I found them in the formal dining room. Victoria, in her casual yet obviously expensive outfit, had positioned herself at Dad's right, the place I always sat. "Elena," Dad said, standing to kiss my cheek. "Sit down, we need to talk about this." I took my usual seat, noticing Victoria's subtle power play. "There's nothing to discuss. The board made their decision." "Now, Elena," Victoria began, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "we're still family. This doesn't need to change anything between us." Dad nodded. "Victoria's right. The company needs stability right now." Her approach is more measured. Measured? I couldn't stop the laugh that escaped. "Is that what we're calling it? She spent months undermining me, manipulating the board. But sure, let's call it measured." "Exactly," Victoria said, cutting in. "You're too emotional, too invested. Business isn't personal, Elena. Mom never understood that either." I watched Dad flinch, but he said nothing to defend Mom, as usual. "You're right about one thing," I said, standing. "Business isn't personal. Remember that." "Where are you going?" Dad called after me. "We haven't even had dinner." "I've lost my appetite," I replied, walking out. But I heard Victoria's stage whisper follow me. "See what I mean, Daddy? She can't even handle a family dinner. How could she run a company?" Back in my car, I took a deep breath before dialing Marcus. "Execute Phase 1 of Project Phoenix. It's time." That night, I sat in my home office, poring over the files. Every email, every manipulated report, every secret meeting. Victoria had left a trail, and it was massive. She'd been so focused on winning that she hadn't bothered to cover her tracks. An unknown number buzzed on my phone. "Meeting confirmed for tomorrow, 9 a.m. They're very interested." I smiled, thinking of the prototype safely secured in my private lab. While Victoria played office politics, I created something that could change everything. This wasn't just an upgrade, it was a paradigm shift. Tomorrow, I would present it to investors who didn't care about family drama or board politics. They cared about innovation and potential. Looking at the family photo on my desk, taken just after Mom died, with all of us trying to smile through the pain, I felt a pang of sorrow. Victoria and I had once been close, before ambition and envy tore us apart. But she'd made her choice. Now it was my turn to make mine. "The board chose me as CEO because you're too ambitious," she had said. What she didn't know was that her victory would soon become her biggest mistake. The next morning arrived bright and clear, but I barely slept. The prototype that could change everything sat on my desk, a small black device the size of a credit card, a symbol of 18 months of secret work. Alongside it were my presentation files, ready. My phone buzzed. "Marcus, you need to see this," he said, urgency in his voice. "Victoria called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. She's going to announce a full restructuring of the R&D department." My stomach tightened. "My department?" "Yes. She's planning to break it up into smaller teams, each reporting directly to her. She's effectively dismantling everything you've built." I glanced at my watch, 8:15 a.m. My meeting with the investors was in 45 minutes. "Let her play her games," I replied, grabbing my materials. "Keep monitoring it, and Marcus, thank you for staying loyal." "Always," he said. "She may have the board, but she doesn't have everyone." I arrived early at the Four Seasons, the private conference room already occupied by 3 people: Sarah Chen from Nova Ventures, James Morrison from Tech Future Fund, and Robert Blackwood, the notorious angel investor who had a knack for turning startups into billion-dollar companies. "Miss Torres," Blackwood said, standing to shake my hand. "I must admit, I was intrigued by your proposal. It's not often we see someone from an established company looking to start fresh." I set up my laptop, feeling the weight of their eyes on me. "Sometimes fresh starts are necessary, Mr. Blackwood, especially when innovation is stifled by conservative management." Sarah Chen raised an eyebrow. "You mean your sister's appointment as CEO?" "Yes," I replied without hesitation. "But this isn't about corporate politics. This is about technology that could revolutionize digital security. For the next hour, I demonstrated my prototype, the quantum encryption protocol I developed. It wasn't just an improvement, it was a complete paradigm shift. In our tests, it had proven unhackable, even against the most sophisticated attacks. This is remarkable, Morrison said, inspecting the prototype. But why didn't you develop this through Taurus Technologies? I took a deep breath. Because I saw the writing on the wall. My sister's appointment wasn't a surprise, it was the culmination of months of maneuvering. I knew that under her leadership, this technology would either be shelved or watered down until it was safe enough for her vision. Smart? Blackwood nodded. You protected your intellectual property, but what's to stop Taurus Technologies from claiming it was developed using their resources? I smiled and slid across a folder. Everything was documented. Private funding, independent contractors, all work done off-site. And more importantly, the patents are filed under my personal holding company. Taurus Technologies has no claim. Sarah Chen leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing? A new company, I said, built around this technology but expanding into other innovative security solutions. I have a team ready to move. We can be operational within months. Direct competition with your family's company, Morrison said, raising an eyebrow. Business isn't personal, I replied, quoting Victoria's words from last night. My sister taught me that. The meeting stretched on for another hour, discussing projections and potential challenges. By the end, all three investors were on board, pledging $50 million for the initial funding round, with options for more based on milestones. As we shook hands, Blackwood held onto mine a moment longer. Your sister may have won the battle for Taurus Technologies, but I have a feeling she's about to lose the war. Back in my car, I allowed myself a breath of relief. Phase 1 was complete, funding secured, patents protected, groundwork laid. My phone buzzed again. Marcus. The board meeting is set for 9 a.m. tomorrow, he reported. Victoria is already having HR prepare termination packages for half your team. Perfect timing, I said. How many of the R&D team have accepted our offer? 15 so far, all key personnel. They're just waiting for your signal. I smiled. Victoria thought dismantling my department would weaken me, but instead she was handing me exactly what I needed. A brilliant, motivated team with no loyalty left to Taurus Technologies. My next stop was a sleek office building downtown, far from Taurus Tech's campus. The entire 10th floor was empty, ready for renovation. I could already picture it. Open-plan workstations, collaborative spaces, testing labs. A place where innovation wouldn't be stifled by corporate politics. My phone buzzed again, Victoria. Where are you? She demanded. Dad wants us both for dinner again tonight. I'm busy, I replied. Some of us still have work to do. Don't be difficult, Elena. We need to present a united front. The press is already asking questions about the sudden leadership change. I could hear the strain in her voice. Of course, she needed to control the narrative, make everything appear smooth and planned. I'm sure you can handle it. I said, you're the CEO now, remember. I ended the call before she could respond. Let her worry about appearances. I had bigger things to focus on. Instead of attending another tense family dinner, I met with my core team in a private room at a small restaurant across town. 20 faces looked back at me, the best and brightest from Taurus Technologies' R&D department, along with a few key players from other areas. Tomorrow morning, Victoria will announce a restructuring of R&D. Many of you will be offered severance packages. Some will be reassigned. This is her attempt to dismantle what we've built. Murmurs of anger rippled through the room. But I continued. This is also our opportunity. I've secured funding, office space, and our patents are protected. We can build something new, something that won't be held back by outdated thinking and corporate politics. Marcus stood up. I think I speak for everyone here when I say we're with you. Taurus Technologies stopped being about innovation the moment Victoria took over. One by one, they all nodded. These were my people, the ones who believed in creating something meaningful, not just maintaining the status quo. What about non-compete clauses? Someone asked. I smiled. Already handled. The severance packages Victoria is preparing will include a waiver of non-compete agreements. She's so focused on getting rid of what she sees as troublemakers, she hasn't considered the consequences. As the meeting wound down, my phone lit up with texts from both Victoria and our father. I ignored them. Let them have their family dinner. I was building something new. Back home, I poured myself a glass of wine and went through my emails. Word was already spreading through the industry about Victoria's appointment and my demotion to head of R&D. The narrative she was pushing painted her as the steady hand guiding the company, while I was cast as the reckless risk-taker in need of control. Fine, let her have her narrative. In business, like in chess, sometimes you had to sacrifice a piece to win the game. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Dad. Your sister's trying to protect the company. Why can't you understand that? I stared at the message for a long moment before typing back, No, Dad, she's protecting herself. And you're letting her. Tomorrow would be interesting. Victoria thought her board meeting would be her triumph. Consolidating her power, dismantling my influence, proving her control. She had no idea she was playing right into my hands. The next morning, the atmosphere in Taurus Technologies' boardroom was tense. I sat quietly in my usual seat, watching as board members filed in, their faces a mixture of sympathy and discomfort when they glanced at me. Victoria entered last, immaculate in a designer suit, with our father right behind her. Thank you all for coming, Victoria began, standing at the head of the table, my old spot. As my first act as CEO, I want to address some organizational changes that will streamline our operations. I kept my expression neutral as she launched into her presentation. Graphs and charts flashed across the screen, each one carefully crafted to support her narrative of necessary restructuring. The R&D department, my department, was depicted as bloated, unfocused, and pursuing too many speculative projects. By dividing R&D into smaller, more focused teams that report directly to the executive office, we can better align our innovation efforts with market demands, Victoria explained, her voice smooth with rehearsed conviction. And what about ongoing projects? Asked board member Harrison, glancing my way. Victoria smiled. Everything will be thoroughly evaluated. We can't afford to waste resources on uncertain ventures. I noticed something interesting. 3 board members, Thompson, Chen, and Rodriguez, shifted uncomfortably in their seats. These had been Victoria's strongest supporters during her takeover, but now they looked uneasy. Of course, the quarterly financial reports were due next week, reports that would reveal the true impact of some of Victoria's strategic decisions over the past few months. Before we vote on this restructuring, I spoke up for the first time, shouldn't we review the quarterly financials? Victoria's smile tightened slightly. Those aren't finalized yet. This restructuring is time-sensitive. Actually, Thompson interjected, I'd like to see those numbers too, especially given the significant changes being proposed. I watched Victoria's composure crack just slightly. She hadn't expected resistance from her allies. Perhaps, I suggested mildly, we should also discuss the series of unauthorized fund transfers from R&D's budget over the past 6 months. The ones that mysteriously coincide with our recent drop in productivity. Victoria's face drained of color. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out a USB drive, not the one Marcus had given me, but a different one. I think you do. Would anyone like to see the actual numbers? Elena, our father warned, but I was already connecting the drive to the presentation system. The screen filled with transaction records, emails, and meeting notes, documenting how Victoria had systematically undermined R&D's projects while building her case for taking over as CEO. This is ridiculous, Victoria snapped. As CEO, I had every right to reallocate resources. Except you weren't CEO when these transfers began, I pointed out. You were CFO, and you didn't have board approval for any of it. The room erupted in chaos. Board members talked over each other, demanding explanations. Victoria tried to maintain control, but I could see panic creeping into her eyes. That's when my phone buzzed, right on schedule. I think, I said loudly enough to cut through the noise. You'll all be getting an interesting email right about now. One by one, they checked their phones. I watched their expressions change as they read the press release from Phoenix Security, my new company, announcing its launch with $50 million in funding and a revolutionary new security protocol. What is this? Victoria demanded, her own phone clenched tight enough to whiten her knuckles. Business, I replied calmly. Just business. Not personal, right? The next hour was a blur of accusations, explanations, and revelations. The board learned not only about Victoria's financial manipulations, but also about the mass exodus of R&D talent that was about to happen, all thanks to her own restructuring plan. This is a disaster, Thompson muttered. Our stock will tank when this gets out. It doesn't have to, I said, the room now completely focused on me. I have a proposal. All eyes turned to me, including Victoria's, which now burned with a mixture of fury and fear. Phoenix Security would be open to a partnership with Taurus Technologies, a way to share resources and maintain market stability. Of course, that would require new leadership here. You planned this all along, Victoria accused. You let me think I'd won so you could destroy me. I met her gaze steadily. No, Victoria, you destroyed yourself. I just refused to let you take me down with you. The emergency board meeting lasted well into the afternoon. By the end, Victoria was out as CEO, though she retained a seat on the board, largely to avoid the appearance of complete family dysfunction. I declined the offer to return as CEO of Taurus Technologies. Instead, I proposed an independent candidate and a partnership agreement between the two companies. As the board members filed out, our father finally spoke up. Elena, what you did was protect myself and the real future of this company I finished for him, just like Mom would have done. Victoria stood by the window, her back to us. You've ruined everything. No, I corrected her. I've built something new. Something that can't be taken away by family politics or corporate maneuvering. You taught me that lesson, remember. The months that followed transformed not just Taurus Technologies, but the entire tech industry landscape. Standing at the window of Phoenix Security's headquarters, which now occupied 3 gleaming floors of downtown real estate, I watched the sunset cast golden hues over the city. My phone buzzed with a news alert about another surge in our stock price. Another record high, Marcus remarked as he walked into my office, a stack of reports in hand. The partnership with Taurus Tech is exceeding every projection. I smiled, thinking back to the day we launched the security protocol Victoria had so readily dismissed as too risky. Today, it was the industry standard, adopted by corporations and governments worldwide. It was ironic that the very project she tried to undermine had become the cornerstone of my success. How's the transition going at Taurus? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Marcus leaned against my desk. Sarah Matthews is doing a phenomenal job as CEO. Your father's starting to smile during board meetings again. That's progress. He paused, a flicker of hesitation in his voice. Victoria's been quieter since she took the consulting position in London. Her self-imposed exile had surprised everyone except me. Once the dust settled from her failed coup, the truth about her manipulations became too widespread to contain. She couldn't maintain her carefully curated image, and I could only imagine how much that stung. Before Marcus left, my phone buzzed again. A message from Dad. Can we have dinner tonight? There's something I need to tell you. Our relationship had improved over the past months. Without Victoria's interference, he'd started to see things more clearly, including his own role in enabling the toxic dynamics that have fueled years of rivalry. I replied quickly, same place as always. That evening, I arrived at our favorite Italian restaurant, the one Mom had loved. Dad was already seated at a quiet corner table, looking older but more at ease than I'd seen him in years. Elena, he greeted, standing to hug me. You look radiant. Success suits you. We ordered wine and made small talk about inconsequential things, the weather, his newfound love of golf, my recent feature in Tech Weekly. Eventually, the conversation shifted. He reached into his pocket and handed me an envelope. I found this while going through some old files, he said. It's from your mother. My hands trembled slightly as I opened it. Inside was a letter, dated just weeks before she passed away. My dearest Elena, it began. I see so much of myself in you, the drive, the vision, the refusal to accept limitations. Some will call these qualities dangerous. They'll try to dim your light to make you smaller, more manageable. Don't let them. The world doesn't need more managers. It needs creators, dreamers, risk-takers. Be bold, my darling. Be fearless. And most importantly, be yourself. Tears blurred my vision as I read her words. Even after all these years, she was still guiding me. She knew, Dad said softly. She knew Victoria would follow my path, cautious, focused on preserving rather than innovating. She worried that would put the two of you at odds. It didn't have to, I said quietly. Victoria made her choices. Dad sighed deeply. She did. And so did I. I should have done more to protect you both, from each other and from me. As if on cue, my phone lit up with an email from Victoria, her first direct communication in months. I hear Phoenix is doing well, it read. Perhaps we should talk sometime. Really talk. I showed Dad the message. He raised an eyebrow. Are you going to respond? I hesitated before answering. Yes, but not yet. Some wounds need time to heal. The next morning, I called an all-hands meeting at Phoenix Security. Standing before my team, many of them former Taurus Tech employees who had followed me, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride. 1 year ago, we took a risk. We left the safety of an established company to build something new, something that couldn't be controlled or diminished by fear or politics. Nods of agreement rippled through the room, and I continued. Today, we're not just successful, we're redefining the industry, and this is only the beginning. The applause was interrupted by Marcus rushing in, tablet in hand. Elena, you need to see this. It was a press release from Taurus Technologies announcing a major new initiative in quantum computing. Leading the effort, Victoria, now heading a new division that would work closely with Phoenix Security. I couldn't help but laugh. Of course, she found a way to turn her exile into an opportunity. Resilience was, after all, something we shared. That evening, I finally replied to her email. Welcome back. Coffee next week. Her response came quickly. I'd like that. I have some ideas I want to run by you. Business only, of course. Of course, I typed back, smiling. Later, standing on my office balcony, I watched as the city lights flickered to life, each one a reminder of the endless opportunities ahead. Mom's letter rested on my desk, her words echoing in my mind. Be bold. Be fearless. Be yourself. Victoria had tried to make me smaller, to force me into a box that didn't fit. Instead, she pushed me to build something far bigger than either of us had imagined. The soft buzz of my phone broke the silence. Another stock alert. Phoenix Security had hit another all-time high. Below it, a message from Sarah Matthews. Your mother would have loved this. I smiled, knowing she was right. Mom would have been proud, not just of the success, but of how I'd achieved it. By staying true to her legacy of innovation and fearlessness, I built something uniquely mine. Victoria's attempt to teach me humility had, in the end, taught us both something far more valuable. True power isn't about titles or control. It's about the courage to create, to innovate, to rise above the noise. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new risks. And I was ready. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's success on your own terms.